Hey, how's it going, guys? So tonight I'm kind of going to go over some of my top picks for Week 1 at each position group in DraftKings. Probably my last little series for videos for DraftKings and picks. I might do like some fades for Week 1. And I may also do some value picks for low ownership players as the season gets closer. So to start off my top picks for running backs for Week 1 for DFS on DraftKings, my first guy is going to be Travis Etienne Jr. This is basically going to be his rookie season in the NFL. Obviously, he was out with a Liz Frank injury last season during, to call it what it is, tumultuous season for the Jacksonville Jaguars with Urban Meyer being there. But either way, different season, a lot better head coach with Doug Peterson. Definitely has the capability of getting a double bonus here with Trevor Lawrence playing against the Washington defense. He has a chemistry with Trevor Lawrence already, playing with them in college, winning a national championship together. Because of that chemistry, I think it's going to be kind of a instinctual, type of connection between the two this season. And even if you don't stack Travis Etienne with Trevor Lawrence, he definitely has standalone value as well, even if you wanted to just put him in to fill out a roster. Another reason why I like Travis Etienne for Week 1 specifically is because I'm of the belief that this is the cheapest you'll see him all season. You won't see him under $6,000 going forward. I think he's definitely going to get at least 100 yards rushing, if not both 100 yards rushing and receiving, giving you that 6-point bonus, not including any kind of touchdown equity during this first week. My second pick for the running backs, and you guys might actually go, well, duh, that's obvious, is Aaron Jones. Now, obviously, this guy here can win you a tournament just by his performance alone. We saw it in Week 2 last year, 41.5 points for fantasy. His ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, his ability to line up in the slot is the reason why I like him so much at this price point against Minnesota. And being so early in the season, before the rest of the pass-catching core get the reps that Aaron Rodgers would feel comfortable with to throw the younger guys the ball. I think he's just going to be able to pick up a bigger role this season as far as being a receiver, as well as the fact that A.J. Dillon was able to show that he is more than capable of manning the backfield, providing a lot more roster flexibility in real life rather than fantasy. So, again, I like Aaron Jones there in that spot because of the weak wide receiver core. He had an average of 5 targets just about last season as a receiver. I believe, if I ran the numbers correctly. And another obvious reason, he's playing with Aaron Rodgers. Playing with Aaron Rodgers any given time, the reigning MVP, 2-time MVP, any guy that plays with Aaron Rodgers has massive value if Aaron Rodgers trusts him. Obviously, he's had enough time with Aaron Rodgers to gain his trust, and I believe Rodgers is going to be leaning on Aaron Jones a lot this season because of how young that receiving corps is. My next guy on the list is James Conner. Again, this is going to be one of the highest point total games of the slate. Is later in the day, so you can still have some player minutes remaining in your roster by picking James Conner. Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury has been known to be to go to the run game once he's inside the goal line. He's also basically the true starter in this offense. Last year he was splitting carries with Chase Edmonds. This year, Chase Edmonds got traded and sent to Miami, and James Conner is only looking to benefit from that this season. So all these numbers here are looking to have a bit of an uptick to it. Let's see. He had 206 attempts last year. Very, very, very easily can make it to 300 attempts this year. 16 touchdowns. I think that's going to go up, being that Chase Edmonds is gone. I think he'll get about the same amount of targets in the receiving game. They still got, I believe, Darrell Williams, if I remember correctly, in the backfield to kind of help out with the passing game on that. Yes, Darrell Williams. So I think he'll be the primary pass catching back, not to the extent that Chase Edmonds was, but I think he will still take some targets. So you may see an uptick in targets this season for him, but specifically for Week 1, he's gonna be the main guy in the backfield for the Arizona Cardinals. Another reason why I like James Conner is that because it's a high point total game, because Patrick Mahomes is going to throw the ball 5,000 times in this game, Arizona is going to have to as well. But as I mentioned before, once they get inside the goal line, they like to pound the ball in. They like to use James Conner inside the red zone, inside the goal line, to run the ball into the end zone. And so to kind of be contrarian, to pivot off those Kyler stacks, James Conner is probably the way to do it. Again, you may have to pay a little bit more, but if you're not picking Kyler Murray, then you're saving $200 anyway. So I think that's a very good way to get off the Kyler Murray stacks with Marquise Brown and AJ Green and all those guys in that stacked receiving core. My next guy is Alvin Kamara. Now, this is where the picks start becoming a little bit more obvious. Like, you guys are probably going to be like, well, duh, yeah, everybody knows to pick Alvin Kamara. Well, the reason why I'm kind of going over these guys is, typically you want to be able to stack your players and everything, and you want to find the standalone value. Well, Alvin Kamara has his own standalone value, also the next guy. But the difference that he has than James Conner is that he's already established as a pass-catching running back. James Conner, his go-to is to pound the ball in between the tackles. That's what he's done his whole career, basically. Alvin Kamara, ever since he was playing with Drew Brees, he's proven that he's a well-established pass catcher. He's a very good runner as well, especially out in space. Playing against a really bad defense for the Atlanta Falcons, I think he's in a good position to have a big game for Week 1. He already has chemistry with Jameis Winston if he does start. I know there's a possibility that Andy Dalton could take the starting position, but I think it's definitely going to be Jameis, J-Bones, for Week 1. But Alvin Kamara, he's able to not only produce both rushing and receiving. He doesn't really even need to score the touchdowns to make him a viable fantasy option for DFS. Not to the extent that Christian McCaffrey can, but he's definitely capable of putting up the yardage necessary to give you a big fantasy day. Let's see here. And if you did want to stack them, now I'm doing these top picks specifically for standalone value, but if you wanted to build a stack around that New Orleans offense, you can, and it's very affordable. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is the most expensive guy. If you believe Michael Thomas is just going to come back after 2 years of not playing and just be the same guy that he was, he's very affordable at $5,700. The next guy in line, I believe, is Chris Olave, the number 1 draft pick, or the first-round draft pick, rather, for the New Orleans. And then on the flip side of that, their best pass catcher on the Atlanta side of the ball, Kyle Pitts, who's also super, super duper affordable, $5,700. And again, if you wanted to pair up Jameis, it's 53. You're not going to find a much better value as far as stacks go if you wanted to go that route with Alvin Kamara. He could have easily been a top pick for the quarterbacks, but because I like the other guys I mentioned earlier, I think Kamara is probably better as a standalone value rather than building a stack around him and Jameis Winston. And my last guy, and again, I'm going to reiterate the standalone value, it's Austin Eckler. So, one of the biggest reasons, to list off some big reasons why I'm going with Austin Eckler, highest point total game, one of the highest point total games on the slate. They're playing at home in Los Angeles, in that massive stadium. Also, to keep in mind is the fact that Isaiah Spiller suffered an injury, and I think he's actually going to be out for week 1, considered week to week still. So, with that being said, even bigger emphasis on Austin Eckler getting his line share of the snaps for that game. He's highly, highly capable of getting a double bonus. I mean, he averaged 40 yards a game receiving, 56 yards rushing. With a high point total game like this, he's easily capable of hitting one of those bonuses, if not both. Obviously, it's more likely for him to get the rushing bonus if they're trying to, chew down the clock later in the game. Obviously, he went wild with touchdowns last year, scoring 20 of them in last season. Obviously, you can't assume that he's going to have that type of touchdown production this year with that offense, but he's at least going to get one, barring injury. To me, there's no way he doesn't score one, probably two in this game. And another reason, and the last reason I like Austin Eckler is you can pivot off the Derek Carr and the Justin Herbert stacks. So all these guys are going to be going after Justin Herbert, going to be going after Derek Carr, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith even. They're going to be flocking to it because it's the highest point total game. They know they're going to be throwing the ball. So you're going to have a lot of people building this type of stack here. And in order to be different, in order to possibly, to get the most leverage on that game is Austin Eckler. And then pick him and then build a stack elsewhere that can have similar, if not better, production, and you can save with another game where you don't have to pay the premium for Justin Herbert at $7,600 or pay $7K basically for the best pass catchers on that team. So he's a good way to pivot from Herbert double stacks or even Derek Carr double stacks as well. So Austin Eckler is the last guy on my top picks for running backs for Week 1 DFS on DraftKings. Looking at top values for the wide receiver position for Week 1 DFS on DraftKings, starting off with Christian Kirk at $5,100. To start off with, this man got a big contract during the offseason, 4 years, $72 million. Jacksonville Jaguars made a pretty big investment in this guy to become a top weapon for this offense with the new head coach Doug Peterson, second-year starter Trevor Lawrence. I think it's going to be a quick-paced offense. I think Christian Kirk's going to fit in really well with them. The type of game it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be two poor teams in the NFL, as I mentioned, with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne earlier in the top values. He had 6 targets a game last season. That'll easily be higher in this offense with Trevor Lawrence. He will be the number 1 guy. He won't be behind DeAndre Hopkins. He won't be behind A.J. Green. He will be the number 1 guy this year, especially at his price point at $5,100. He definitely provides you a lot of roster flexibility, gives you really good standalone value for your roster builds at $5,100. Doesn't break the bank. It's actually below the average player price, so it definitely gives you more options to spend money elsewhere for your roster build for Week 1. My next guy for top picks for wide receivers is Devonta Smith. Second season in this Philadelphia offense, second year playing with Jalen Hurts. I think it's safe to assume that he is Jalen Hurts' favorite target, being that he's just been able to develop a chemistry with Jalen. This is his second season, so I believe he's going to take a major jump in production. Obviously, there's a question of how much A.J. Brown is going to take away from his targets, but I'm of the belief that A.J. Brown's going to be the focal point of defenses to make sure, that he doesn't get his targets, that he doesn't get the production in that offense, and that's going to leave Devonta Smith more open, more opportunities to give you more production in fantasy. I also believe that with Jalen Hurts, a lot of people are of the belief that this is going to be a contract year for him. So being that it might be a contract year for Jalen Hurts, he's more inclined to throw the ball, prove that he is worth being the franchise quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. And not only do I think that not only do I think the passing volume is going to increase, I believe that you'll see Devonta Smith hitting more vertical routes, being more open with the addition of A.J. Brown, being a more efficient receiver altogether this season. And the last point is his price point here at $5,500, leaving you a lot of at the $5,500 price point, he's going to leave you a lot of flexibility to build a pretty good roster around him, and has massive standalone value at the wide receiver position at $5,500. My number 3 receiver for top picks for Week 1 is Hollywood Brown at $6,200. He is in one of the highest point total games in Week 1. DeAndre Hopkins is out for 6 games, I believe, meaning that Marquise Brown is going to be the surefire wide receiver 1 for the Arizona Cardinals offense. Again, highest point total game on the slate. He's moderately priced at $6,200. Doesn't break the bank as far as building a roster around him. Last season, I believe last season for the Baltimore Ravens, he averaged about 6 or 7 targets per game. I think that's easily going to be at least 8 targets a game. He averaged about 7 or 8 targets with the Baltimore Ravens. Easily going to be 8 or 9, if not double digits, with DeAndre Hopkins being out. There is a history between Marquise Brown and Kyler Murray being college teammates. And with having chemistry much like Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence, I think there's going to be a lot of instincts that come into play as far as when these two are on the field, which only is going to be beneficial to Marquise Brown and those who have him in their lineups. My number 4 wide receiver pick for week 1 is Terry McLaurin. He's the number 1 wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. Surefire top target for Carson Wentz this year. Very slim and shallow wide receiver room. J.D. McKissick and Curtis Samuel, who are high value. Curtis Samuel, that I've mentioned in previous videos, that he is going to be a massive sleeper this season. I think that Terry McLaurin's in line to see a massive progression in touchdowns this year with a lot better quarterback. Another year of Ron Rivera getting the team to where he wants it. I think it's going to be another possibility of having a high-scoring game between two not-so-great teams in the NFL. Commands a huge chunk of the targets for this offense. Averages about 7 to 8 targets a game. I think that's only going to go higher with Carson Wentz there as well. Another last point I want to make is my guy got paid this year. Big contract. I don't think they listed it. I have it written down. My guy got paid this year. Follow the money. 3-year, $68.2 million contract for Terry McLaurin to be the number 1 wide receiver of the future for the Washington Commanders. So I think he definitely has standalone value. If you want to have him as a bring-back player for the very cheap and affordable Jacksonville Jaguar stack, you can do that as well. Definitely like Terry McLaurin as my number 2 pick for wide receivers for week 1. My number 1 pick for wide receiver as a standalone value is Mike Williams for the Los Angeles Chargers. Mike Williams is going to be a part of one of the highest point total games of the slate against the Las Vegas Raiders. Mike Williams signed a big contract this offseason for 3 years, $60 million. I think this season is going to be the first where you see Keenan Allen have a bit of regression in his ability, getting up there in age. I think you'll also see him command a big target share this year. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that you'll see Mike Williams have 7 or 8 plus targets for week 1. And again, he's playing with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, a young quarterback in the NFL, and Justin Herbert, who I think will begin to use Mike Williams a whole lot more this season now that they've made the financial investment in him to be their receiver going forward, now that Keenan Allen's getting up there in age. So Mike Williams, big standalone value at $6,600. At $6,600 for the Los Angeles Chargers for a high point total game for week 1. So that's all of the wide receiver top picks I had. All right, so I just went over my top picks for running backs, my top picks for wide receivers for week 1 DFS on DraftKings. If you haven't already, please subscribe, follow the channel. Again, shout out to Fantasyholics for their support on sharing the links to my videos on their page on Facebook. I appreciate you guys for doing that. Please, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. Drop a comment on the videos. Put it in chat, whatever. Tell me how I can do better. Tell me if you agree. Who's your favorite picks at each position for week 1? Tell me what you think for week 1. Who are you focusing on this upcoming fantasy season? So thank you guys for watching. Come back and follow the channel for more fantasy content for the NFL season this year. Thanks.